Let's talk Wii games. I grew up on the Wii, and statistically, you probably did too, or at least had one at some point in time. And if you think, I don't have a Wii, maybe you should check the back of your closet. If there's no corpses or demons back there, you might just find one of these beautiful slabs of PowerPC magic. I don't need to tell you the Wii was a massive success. Wikipedia can do that for me, and with any massively popular system, there are tons of games that fall through the cracks of modern gaming culture. And I'm here to tell you about one of my favorites. Have you ever heard of Active Life? Or Family Trainer? Well, regardless, I'm gonna tell you about this lost gem of the Wii era and how it compares to the Wii Fitness contemporaries of the time, because there were just so many of these things. But none were quite like this. Hi, I'm Reyna, a girl on the internet, and I'll be your guide tonight into the depths of Bandai Namco's forgotten fitness franchise. Time for a little bit of a history lesson about Family Trainer. The short version is that it was a series of 11 Famicom and NES games released from 1986 to 1989. The franchise started on the Famicom with the aptly titled Family Trainer pad, released with the game Athletic World, with a whopping 9 more games using the peripheral in Japan. Now, if you're an American, the story starts just 2 years later in 1988, when Nintendo licensed the Family Trainer pad and games from Bandai, getting exclusive rights to publish the games and distribute the mat with NES systems under the name the Power Pad. Europe's version, called the Family Fun Fitness Pad, is pretty much identical to the Japanese version in most ways, but I really don't have time to get into regional differences for a game that I'm not even reviewing. Either way, the important point is that this is the start of the series that never made it past the Famicom, until the big franchise reboot on the Wii, with the not quite critically acclaimed game,
Outdoor Challenge!
This first release in the new Active Life series is a heart-pumping thrill ride for everyone to enjoy. So get off the couch, get active! Active Life Outdoor Challenge, rated E for everyone, exclusively for Wii.
So, released in 2008 for $60 US, this game is one hell of an oddball wrapped in a mystery. Not much about the game's development is known, or at least I couldn't find it in all of my research. There's only one preview video showing an early build. What we do know is that the game entered development in 2006, and spent 2 years being worked on by Hand Studios, developers of Tamagotchi Party On, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, 358 Days Over 2, and Neo The World Ends With You, along with a huge amount of other games in their backlog. In terms of development history, all I could find were some references to a preview event, a very low-quality gameplay clip, and some commercials. So let's talk about those. Starting with the earliest footage we have from October 17th, 2007 at Tokyo Game Show. Apologies for the quality, but it is literally the only thing I could find in all of my research. Starting off at the beginning, you can see that the mat at the show was pretty much identical to the final release, but in the cutaway footage we can see a very early mat design that was in black and white. The background here also shows off some early UI designs and elements. River Rapid, being the original name for Kayak Attack, has some pretty odd visual design, with much more vibrant colors compared to the final release. Long Jump Runner was the early name for Timber Trail, and again, we can see very simplistic environments and vibrant colors. They also mentioned that the Wii Remote is used to move left and right, unlike the final game, which simply uses the map buttons. Log Jumper is the early version of Log Leaper, and is the same as the other early builds, with different colors and simplified environments. Minecart Adventure actually has the same name here, and once again just has slight visual differences. Lake Top Trampoline and Speed Roller are also seen very briefly, and are clearly extremely early and simplistic prototypes. But let's talk about what actually released in 2008. This is Active Life Outdoor Challenge for the Wii. The game originally came in a large box to accommodate both the mat and the game, but that is long gone on my copy since I've had this for a very long time. In here we've got a welcome surprise, a real full-color manual going over every minigame and game mode here. Alright, under that we have a coupon booklet? I'm gonna save this for later on when we talk about all of the absolutely wacky sponsored content in this franchise, because it's a huge rabbit hole that baffles me to no end. And this here is the Active Life mat, which was bundled with every game in the series. It's pretty simple. It connects to the GameCube port, meaning it only works on original Wii models, not the Gen 2, Family Edition revision, or the Wii Mini, but that's not a surprise. It's got 10 buttons, 6 directional, 2 in the center, and a plus and minus button for menu navigation. And this is how the buttons map to standard GameCube controller buttons for those who are curious. Overall, the mat is pretty solidly designed and built, but it has a serious issue with slipping. You can't play more than 30 seconds of a game that involves running without the map slipping all over the floor. Now that the hardware talk is out of the way, let's talk about the actual game. Starting with single player, Outdoor Challenge is set up in 3 primary modes: Outdoor Adventure, Exercise Training, and Free Play. So, first up, Outdoor Adventure. This is the primary mode, sorta like a story mode. This consists of playing a number of minigame challenges in a specific order for a high score. There's a ton of different challenges to do, and you can unlock more as you play. You can even create custom playlists with up to 3 minigames of your choosing and custom clear conditions for each game in the set. Up next is Exercise Training. This is a Wii Fit-esque mode in which you select a specific type of exercise, such as full body, 5-minute workouts, upper body, and more. This gives you another set of 3 games tailored to work those specific muscles or body parts. As you do the minigames in this mode, you gain AP, or Active Points. At the end of your round, your AP is tallied up and added to a chart to map your progress day to day. It's not in-depth as something like Wii Fit or EA Active, but it's a fun mode if you really care about using this game as an exercise tool. Finally, we reach the mode that I think most people played, including me back in the day. Free Play! This is exactly what it says on the tin, a mode where you can select any minigame freely and play to your heart's content, or until your legs give out from under you, whichever comes first. Each minigame has 4 difficulty modes, which are unlocked by completing Outdoor Adventure in each level. Now, we'll be tackling these in the order they appear and doing a very quick summary and gameplay snippet of each one. Are you ready?
Here we go!
Timber Trail, move left, right, and jump to run to the goal as fast as you can. Mole Stomper, it's just whack-a-mole with mat-shaped molehills. Kayak Attack, swing the remote like a kayak paddle and get to the end. Pipe Slider, sit on the mat and pat the left and right sides to dash down to the bottom, sort of like luge but in 360 and with more hand soreness from smashing your hands into the floor. Minecart Adventure, a game where you shake the Wii Remote to pump an old minecart and lean left and right to follow the track, avoiding obstacles and trying not to fall off. Mountain Border, you slide down a hill like Tails in Sonic Adventure, attempting to do tricks in midair in order to get a high score. Speed Roller, you stomp in place and tilt the Wii Remote to rollerblade to the goal as fast as possible. Lake Top Trampoline, you just jump in place and then match the buttons they say to press. Stone Stepper, you stomp on the left or right button in order to jump between 2 lanes and not fall on the ground. Sprint Challenge, literally just running. Head-on Hurdler, running but you jump sometimes. Log Leaper, time your jumps over the logs to not get wiped out, like Giant Jump Rope. Conveyor Runner, run in place on the conveyor belt and jump over obstacles. Seesaw Battler, a game of reaction times. You kneel on the floor in front of the mat and hit the buttons before your opponent. Jump Rope, I feel like this is pretty self-explanatory, it's Jump Rope. There we go. Every main single-player game in Outdoor Challenge. Now let's talk about multiplayer. I am only one person with 2 legs, which means I need a partner for these games. So welcome to the mat, my sibling in crime and in weird Wii games, Logan. Ayo. Now, only 7 of the main 15 games can be played in competitive multiplayer. This means that you and a friend/competitor/homoerotic rival share the mat, with one player using the left and left center and the other using right and right center. The 7 available minigames are Timber Trail, Stone Stepper, Sprint Challenge, Head-on Hurdler, Log Leaper, Conveyor Runner, and Seesaw Battler. These are simply played in split screen and you compete to see who wins. But if you don't feel like battling, there's also co-op multiplayer. This is even more limited though, at only 3 games. These teamwork games are Minecart Adventure, Jump Rope, and Waterfall Climber, which is actually exclusive to this mode. Minecart Adventure is much the same as before, except you both need to lean, shake, and jump together in unison, lest you be cast into the abyss! There are also sometimes obstacles you need to shoot at with the Wii Remote pointer. Jump Rope is just Jump Rope, except if one of you fails you get a strike, 3 strikes and you're out. Waterfall Climber is probably the most interesting, as it is entirely exclusive to 2-player modes, and takes advantage of 2 players very well. Player 2 is at the top of the waterfall, attempting to pull Player 1 up. Player 1 must jump and step left and right in order to scale a waterfall by leaping from platform to platform, while Player 2 must tug on the rope by swinging the Wii Remote up at the same time Player 1 jumps. If you fail a jump, then you have to stomp as fast as you can and shake the Wii Remote to avoid falling back down. This sounds confusing, but once you get into the swing of things, it actually really clicks. At the end of every teamwork game, you get given a teamwork ratio, a percentage out of 100 showing how well you worked together. Sort of like the compatibility tester in Vitamin Connection. Now that we've discussed the game itself, why don't we move on to opinions, both my own and those of the 2000s gaming press. I am, of course, incredibly biased because I grew up on this game, but I still think it holds up. It's quite the workout and still both fun alone and with friends. Some of the gaming press, however, disagree with my nostalgia-tinted love of this game.
GameZone.com gave it a 5 out of 10, with author Louis Badegin saying things like, "Some of Active Life's minigames start out fun but quickly die out. The rest, such as the awkward jump rope game, aren't fun at all." On the topic of visuals, he said that they were low-end Wii graphics that display the necessary content in game visuals but are not at all impressive, and felt that the soundscape was less interesting than real outdoor sounds. Plus you can, quote, "share in the cumbersomeness by sharing the Active Life map with a friend."
Nintendo World Report was slightly nicer, with their 7 out of 10, with reviewer Neil Ronigan stating, "All in all, Active Life Outdoor Challenge separates itself from Wii Fit as its own game, and succeeds quite well at it. While the different activities have dearth of variety, it is still a fun experience for all ages. If the back of the game box holds true and there are indeed more Active Life games coming, Outdoor Challenge is a very promising start to a series and a great complement to Wii Fit."
Which is a sentiment I pretty much completely agree with. It definitely does enough to be its own thing apart from its contemporaries on the Wii and is quite enjoyable at all ages. I would know. I've played it for quite a few of them. After playing through the game, I can say that Outdoor Challenge was an interesting concept and a springboard for what they hoped would be a future franchise on the then nascent Wii. It even became a million seller at one point. But where could they go next with this? Well, we would see the fruits of that labor in 2009, just 1 year later, when they released
Active Life Extreme Challenge!
Welcome to the year 2009. 1 year after Outdoor Challenge released, those old chaps at Bandai Namco gave us a sequel in the form of Extreme Challenge, stylized with a capital X, a game with a heavier emphasis on street sports and BMX. Maybe this aesthetic shift means we'll get away from the run in a straight line and jump category of games. We can only hope. This game, oddly, doesn't have a development house listed anywhere, which seems to imply to me that it was made in-house at Bandai. But according to Wikipedia, the game was developed by Tosei, who are known for not putting their name on projects, but to be honest, I doubt this heavily. It's not listed in any place that has lists of all the games they've worked on, and the Wikipedia page does not have a citation for this. Moby Games says that it was made by Haynes Studios, but it would be very strange to not credit them here, because they are credited in both earlier and later games in the series. Okay, so... After extensive research, the credits have a crazy amount of crossover with Pac-Man Party for Wii, which was developed by Tosei. So I'm convinced that Wikipedia is right and this game was made by Tosei. Let's take a look at the game case. It's a pretty standard Wii game, and the manual is clearly lower budget. Black and white printing and much cheaper and thinner paper. I think they're cutting costs here. But, let's boot up the game and see what happens. Alright, a very similar menu with both single and multiplayer modes, options, and a copyright with more text than is necessary. Single player, once again, is 3 modes, being Extreme Tournament, Challenge Mode, and Free Play. Extreme Tournament is basically just Outdoor Challenge. Select a course, play 3 minigames in a row, and get a high score. Challenge mode is interesting. It takes the minigames but gives you tweaks on them, again going for a high score. For example, Challenge 2 is Luge, except you have to hit as many obstacles as possible instead of avoid them. Or Challenge 4, which is a variant of base jumping where you need to deploy your parachute as late as possible. Just pretty basic tweaks on existing games to add replayability. And finally, we move on to Free Play, the mode again that I think most people played. There are 15 minigames this time and no multiplayer exclusives, so let's do another rundown of every minigame that's in this one. Street Luge, similar to Pipe Slider and Outdoor Challenge. Sit on the mat and lean left to right to get to the end as fast as you can. All these advertisements are very obvious, and we will talk about it later. Double Dutch, it's jump rope again, and sometimes you gotta run in place for the faster ropes. Double Dutch Fusion, you have to match the button patterns that the computer uses. Base jumping, you have to hit all the buttons as fast as you can and open your parachute at the bottom. Rock climbing difficult, kneel on the pattern, hit the buttons on the rocks with your hands to come up the mountain. Rock climbing speed, same kneeling pose as before, but you have to simply alternate left and right with your hands, switching between lanes to avoid obstacles. BMX Flatland, repeat the patterns the game tells you to. BMX Street, pedal by running in place and tilt the Wii Remote left and right to turn, kinda like Wii Fit Plus's Island Cycling. BMX Speed, run in place as fast as you can and shake the Wii Remote to rocket downhill as fast as possible, score is measured by your top speed. Kite Surfing, use the Wii Remote nunchuck, pull the sail left and right to get big air and perform tricks for a high score, kinda like wakeboarding in Wii Sports Resort. Skateboarding Vertical, time your jumps on the half-pipe and then perform tricks in mid-air to gain points. Skateboarding Freestyle, just repeat the button inputs and then add your own freestyle at the end, go back and forth until someone messes up. Inline Skate Street, basically hurdle jumping but on skates, and it doesn't work. Inline Skate Big Air, time your jump off the ramps, then press the buttons inside the rings, then time your landing well. Wakeboard, even more similar to Wii Sports Resort's wakeboarding, because it is literally the same game mode except you use the mat instead of a Wii Remote. So, as you can probably tell, a lot of these minigames are just having you repeat an indicated pattern of inputs as fast as you can. Double Dutch Fusion, base jumping, BMX Flatland, skateboarding freestyle, and inline skate air are all extremely similar. But either way, a lot of these minigames are full of jank. Like, it's crazy how frustrated I was getting playing street skating because the game simply did not respond to my inputs the way I wanted it to. You can clearly see that I could not get the hang of speeding up while playing, so I trotted along at a snail's pace. But onward to multiplayer. I didn't capture any footage of this because it's the same minigames, but slightly tweaked. There's 5 challenges instead of 10, and Extreme Tournament is playable with 2 people. There's also 9 free-play minigames that can be played in duos, those being Double Dutch, Normal and Fusion, Base Jumping, Rock Climbing Difficult and Speed, BMX Flatland and Street, Skateboarding Freestyle, and Inline Skate Street. These games are the same in multiplayer, just going head-to-head and competing for the high score to finish first or whatever. While this game has more multiplayer minigames than an outdoor challenge, they feel a lot less special and unique, since there's no co-op mode or exclusive minigames this time. Now, you might be wondering why I haven't been using my Mii for most of this footage, and am instead using the in-game default avatars. The reason is that Miis in this game look nightmarish. They are distressingly thin and disproportionate, and have 0 facial animation, so your Mii just stares dead-eyed at you from this Slenderman-ass looking body. It's truly horrifying. Also, the constantly repeating voice quips in the minigames really start to get on your nerves after a while. You might be able to tell I'm a bit less positive on this game as I am on the original, even though I also grew up with this one. I always found myself going back to Outdoor Challenge much more than Extreme Challenge. While the Extreme Sports angle is interesting thematically, it really doesn't do enough to spice up the gameplay and make it different. Now, I couldn't find too many reviews of this game, and the one that I did from IGN is not exactly super positive either. To start off with, the subheading is more like Active Life, Moderate Challenge. Author Jack DeVry says about the game, unfortunately, the only extreme part was how extremely fast this game became tedious, and the style of the game is bright and colorful, but a little obnoxious. The characters look like bizarre, amped-up little orphan Annies, and a lot of the games feel very isolated, with no spectators and pretty and boring environments. This is pretty much on par with a lot of my feelings about the game. The character design is bafflingly strange, and the minigames can get extremely repetitive. All in all, Extreme Challenge was a middling sequel that did have a few original ideas of its own, but failed to live up to the decent success of the original. I feel like it really could have gone further, but so many games are just repeats and rehashes, or just simplistic and uninteresting. But oh buddy, this train was not gonna stop yet, and just 1 year later, we got the 3rd entry in this franchise.
Active Life Explorer!
Our journey has taken us to the year 2010, the year of the first iPad, the launch of Instagram, and the release of Fallout New Vegas. The series was still hell-bent on yearly releases, and this year's game was Active Life Explorer, developed once again by Hand Studios. Taking a look at the manual, and this is even sadder than the last one. It's black and white and 15 pages long, and half of it is in French. This game actually strays from the formula of the first 2 games quite a bit, interestingly enough. We can see this clearly when we boot up the main menu and are greeted with a few more options than before. We've got Treasure Adventure, the main campaign, Free Play, which is same as it ever was, Party Mode, which supports up to 8 players, There's also the treasure room, which lets you view stuff you've collected in the main story, rankings, which is rankings, and treasure trials, which is pretty much outdoor adventure or extreme challenge. So let's start from the top. Treasure Adventure is a full-blown campaign with dialogue and characters and a world map and everything. If I'm being less than charitable, I'd say it's a shiny wrapper to play every minigame at escalating difficulty, but it's a bit more than that, with a world map, multiple levels to do, and lots of stuff to unlock. Plus, the whole thing can be played with anywhere from 1 to 4 people. This marks the first time that these games have had more than 2 players, though the 4-player mode often leaves something to be desired. Treasure Adventure is okay. It's extremely repetitive because it reuses minigames so often, and it is absolutely exhausting physically to play. I had to play in 20 to 30 minute bursts because I couldn't physically play any longer. These minigames get brutally difficult pretty far in. Alright, this game and everything it stands for. I wrote that section earlier in the script before I finished it, and I'm gonna be honest, this game blows chunks, and I've spent literal hours of my life trying to beat this damn thing to no avail. It just keeps going and going and going and going. Is there no end in sight? 5 hours in, I have officially given up on finishing this, and I'm moving on with my life and writing the rest of this script because I have been doing this for literal weeks of my life. This is genuine anger coming through my words when I write this. I am tired of this stupid game, and I am so exhausted, I feel like I might die on the spot. I swear to God, it's just the same 5-minute games over and over again. Hi. Let's take a deep breath. I've calmed down a bit, but there is no way in the 7 hells that I am finishing this game. I am going to move on with my life and this project because I still have 2 more games to play through, and I have absolutely reached my limit. But let's move on to free play. Free play, oh free play, you continue to be exactly the same as you always are. Pick a minigame, the number of players, and get going. Let's go over everything we have in this game, shall we? This has the most minigames in the series by far at a whopping 24. We'd be here for far too long if I decided to individually review each game, and since so many of them are so similar, we're gonna group them. Falling Bridge, Canyon Leaper, Jungle Vine Ruin, Cycle Glider, Door Smasher, Runaway Train, Mummy's Tomb, Stop and Go, Deep Sea Diving, and Pirate's Treasure are all very similar games because they all involve the concept of run in place and then jump / duck / swing the Wii remote when the game tells you to. Dog Sled and Horseback Chase are the 2 animal riding games in the collection where you control your animal's speed but not overwork them and avoid obstacles along the way. Airplane Panic and Kraken Battle are the boss fight QTEs from the story mode. Basically just hit the buttons when they appear on screen, kinda like base jumping in Extreme Challenge. Rapid Repelling and Shark Attack are both jump with good timing, and I don't have much more to say about it. The rest of these are fairly unique to the point that I really couldn't put them in a category, so let's start with Balloon Landing, where you stomp to activate the balloon's burner to stop yourself from hitting the ground too hard. Dungeon Escape is a pretty fun and unique game that's kinda like Twister, just press down on the indicated pads with your hands and feet. Gem Catcher is a janky disaster where you run left and right to grab falling gems thrown by this, frankly disturbing looking monkey. Next up is Minecart Mayhem, which, hey wait a second, this is the same game again! They just put a shiny coat of paint on it, but this is obviously the exact same game as Outdoor Challenge. Okay, let's try this again. Fire Frenzy is, this is just Log Leaper, but with different obstacles. Did they really run out of ideas this fast? Alright, maybe those were flukes. How about Croc Stomper? Nope, this is Mole Stomper. Ice Cave Slider? You've gotta be original, right? No, of course not. This is just Pipe Slider. Now, there's one more minigame, the 3-legged run, which is 2-player only, so I had to drag Logan back onto the mat with me and play cooperatively. This one is basically a sprinting game, but you have to make sure that you do it in rhythm with each other. Pretty hard if you and your teammate aren't in sync, but because we have the power of the sibling psychic link, we did pretty damn well, if I say so myself. Alright, so Treasure Trials is just outdoor adventure / extreme adventure. You just play 3 minigames in a row for a combined score, and playing them unlocks more difficulty options. That's all I've got to say, it's not really unique. And probably the most interesting mode so far is Party Mode, something I'm sort of surprised the last 2 didn't have, given the prevalence of Mario Party clones and most minigame collections on Wii having this. You need at least 2 people to do it, so I've once again asked for some help from Logan, and a new guest to the show, Hannah.
Hello, hi, I'm Hannah. Smile.
So, a party mode asks you to select a game length and then just gives you random minigames to compete in for points. Most points wins, it's pretty much exactly what you'd think. The minigames are divided into 3 categories. Standard battle, where you all play at once, pair battle, where you split into teams of 2 and compete with each other, and duel battle, where you fight one-on-one in 2-player-only minigames.
So,
Don't put my feet on the internet.
I'm not putting your feet on the internet. We just finished recording party mode. How do you guys feel?
Gatorade sponsorship!
Ow! Oh my... Yeah, Hannah threw a water bottle at my chest, and it hurt quite a bit, but it's fine. This is the most unique game since the original, since unlike Extreme Challenge, it's actually trying something new with its campaign mode for simultaneous players and some pretty cool and unique minigames. Unfortunately, it's also bogged down by some terrible jank, constant misinputs, and general buggery. It can still be fun, but the sheer number of minigames that are just running in place and then jumping when it prompts is just kind of boring to me. What are the functional differences between Shark Attack and Fire Frenzy? They're both just timing jumps when you see a thing on screen. Same with Canyon Leaper and Jungle Vine Ruins, both games where you run in place and then jump when the game tells you to. Not that these are bad concepts for minigames, there's just too many similar ones. Maybe because they wanted to say that there were 24? I'm not really sure, but it bogs down the game in my opinion. But what other opinions are out there? Well,
Pedro Hernandez at Nintendo World Report gave the game an 8.5 out of 10, saying that Active Life Explorer is an excellent minigame compilation title, as well as a fitness game. The very creative games, combined with a plethora of modes and features, make this title worth checking out if you want a party game for the family, or just a fun exercise game. Be warned, though, as the minigames can get very intense if you're not the physical fitness type.
So apparently my criticisms might have been too harsh. Seriously, this is a higher score than any other game in the series got, which is crazy to me, but who am I to argue with the public? But if this game didn't satiate your appetite, guess what happened a year later? That's right, we got another game in the series. They were really burning the candle at both ends with these yearly releases, but still, let's travel to the year 2011 and check out the final game in the series.
Active Life!
Magical Carnival. Welcome to 2011, one of the craziest years in video game history, with huge releases like Minecraft, Skyrim, Dark Souls, Skylanders, Sonic Generations, and Portal 2, among countless others. It was also the year that marked the end of the NASA Space Shuttle program, with Shuttle Atlantis' final launch. What a busy, busy year! But there was still plenty of time for Bandai Namco to release yet another Active Life game. This one being Active Life Magical Carnival. The game was developed by Ganbarion, who are probably best known for their work on Wii Fit U and almost every One Piece game ever made. The box, the manual. The manual is pretty much just as sad as the last one, with minimal content, black and white printing, and thin paper. And yes, the back half is still in French. Thanks, Canada. Also, can we talk about this box art because it is weird. I really believe that this is just mediocre Photoshop because look at how these kids are holding their Wiimotes. The mat is obviously just slapped in there, and compared to the Japan box art, it's kinda boring and bland. This could be a cover for literally any Wii Carnival-themed minigame collection, like the other major Wii Carnival minigame collection that released several years before. But that's enough of that. Let's turn on the game and see what awaits us. Here we go! Starting off with a general overview, the game is divided into 4 main sections, those being Dream Attractions, Party at the Park, Free Play, and Let's Go Out. Starting off with Dream Attractions, this is clearly the main mode with 2 save files to select. Let's start up a fresh one and see what this mode is all about. Please tell me it's better designed than the last game's story. Please, my body cannot take any more. Okay, we start up and meet this fairy girl who tells us that we're the first guest at the park. Therefore, we now have free unlimited access to it and get to play every attraction. The park is divided into 5 zones, those being Fantasy Zone, Horror Zone, Carnival Zone, Circus Zone, and Pirate Zone. You select a zone and a minigame, and the better you do, the more visitors you get in your park and the more minigames you unlock. The goal is to get more visitors in your park to the end of, I'm not really sure, I didn't finish this one either. Maybe another time. Free play is the obvious, so let's get started on that minigame list already. Starting with Pirate Zone, we've got Chase the Monkey, a game where you run in place and jump to avoid obstacles, then hit the indicated buttons to catch that escaped Dave. That's a bad pun. Bomb Panic, basically hot potato, but you hit your one indicated button, toss the bomb to someone nearby. Pirate's Duel, a big Q to E. You need to hit the marked buttons faster than your opponent. Pirate Adventures, this is just 3 short mini-games glued together. Run in place to climb the mast, run and jump to get to the steering column, mash the indicated buttons, and hit the indicated buttons to kill the skeletons. Next up, the Fantasy Zone, but this time no Opa Opa. Unfortunately. Flying Carpet, you kneel on the mat and press left and right to avoid obstacles, but it has Toho Graze mechanics to pick up speed. Magic Lesson, you just need to hit the indicated buttons in the right order, like Simon. No metamorphy facier needed here. Ballroom Dancing, you won't believe this one, guys, it's hit the indicated buttons at the right time. But for once, the right time is actually lined up with the playing music. Flying Broom, a big QTE where you just hit the indicated button at the right time. Sometimes there are extra buttons. Whee! Onto the Horror Zone, which isn't nearly as scary as the name implies. Call this Halloween or Ghost Zone, but no Pac-Man this time. Monster Panic, you hold the buttons that are on the monsters that are struck by lightning and you need to prevent them from getting up. Haunted House, you walk, run, and jump through a mansion in order to save your kidnapped friend at the end of some very long hallways. Who's the ghost? Not me. Pick the odd one out of the group, kinda like Find Me in Wii Play. Ghost Hunter, have you ever played that one minigame in Wii Play Motion or that one minigame in the Playroom VR or Luigi's Mansion Arcade or probably some other game that I can't remember? Well, this is literally the same. Click on the ghost with the Wii Remote, step button when it goes too big, description over. Alright, we've moved right along to the biggest zone by far, the Circus Zone. Ball balance, hit the buttons before the panels pile up too high and end your game. Rope crossing, pedal the unicycle by stepping on the buttons and use the Wii Remote to keep your balance on the rope. Trampoline tricks. Oh dear, it seems I've inserted footage from Outdoor Challenge by mistake. Silly me! All jokes aside, this is pretty much the same game. Jump at time, hit the buttons. Giant swing, jump with the buttons with good timing to not fall to your imminent demise. Lion show, jump over or duck under the lions. Spinning wheels, run in place and jump to dodge obstacles. Motorbike challenge, you press left and right to steer the bike, pop as many balloons as you can. Those monkeys would be damn proud of ya. Clown show, hey that's me! This one is just a few of the existing circus minigames in a row. And finally, the Carnival Zone. Literally every single one of these is just kneeling on the mat and hitting the assigned button. These would not feel out of place in Eminem's Beach Party. Hammer Strike, hit things fast to build up a hammer charge. Balloon Maker, push to release your balloon before it pops. Frog Jump, hit the button to throw your frog, try to land it on a lily pad. Ball Rolling Challenge, hold the button to charge up your ball and launch it to the indicated zone. I suck at this one. That's every minigame sorted. The next mode is extremely similar to one in the last game, but it's honestly way better. That being Party at the Park. This is a mode for up to 10 players and has 2 modes, individual and team battle. This just decides if you go one-on-one or in groups, and then you compete at a randomized selection of minigames for a high score. The final mode is the strangest by far. Let's Go Out has you select a me to romance? Once you select your partner, you play mini-games with them, but in single player, and at the end, your romance level is tested. Turns out I suck at taking myself out on a date? Who would have thought? Take this into account before you form some sort of weird parasocial relationship, you weirdos. When it comes to my feelings, they're a lot more complicated than my feelings on Explorer. On the one hand, this game is probably objectively the best in the series in terms of the amount of content and the polish. It's not buggy at all, every minigame is at least functional and decently fun, and the visuals look pretty nice. But on the other hand, this is plagued by the same issue as the last game. That being the extremely repetitive minigames. Literally every Boardwalk game is so similar, and there's at least 2 that are just compilations of other games. I'm still really mixed on this game, even after writing all this about it, so if it means anything, it gave me a lot to talk about. Either way, let's see what actual game reviewers had to say. Turns out, nobody at any major game publication reviewed this game at all. The Metacritic aggregator literally only has one from Armchair Empire, and the link on the page is dead. So, to the Wayback Machine. Alright, let's take a look here. Author Sid Bolton, who sadly passed away in 2018, gave the game a solid 6.5 out of 10, saying that, quote, "I have to admit that I'm surprised how much I actually like the Active Life games. This one, the latest in a series that includes Active Life Explorer, Outdoor Challenge, and Extreme Challenge, is no exception." And that while this game is not an exercise game per se, but you will get up and moving and have fun with it. His final opinion is that it's a good game, but not a great one, and if you already have the Active Life mat, then this is a no-brainer. I'd honestly agree pretty well with this. The series is surprisingly enjoyable at times and does get players up and about while playing. I would say that it is truly good but not great and makes a pretty good capstone to the series. And it was, for about 9 years, until they suddenly, with no announcement or build-up, dropped...
Outdoor Challenge!
Are we in a time loop? Nope. In 2020, Bandai Namco released Active Life Outdoor Challenge for Nintendo Switch. This is a port or remaster of the original game, so I don't have as much new stuff to say about this one. The biggest difference is that the Switch obviously doesn't have GameCube ports, so where does the mat go? Well, they just decided to throw that all out, and now the game is played with 2 Joy-Con, specifically with one on the leg strap and one in the hand. The same leg strap included with Ring Fit Adventure and physical copies of Switch Sport. It came in this large box, including the game case and 2 leg straps, so you can play multiplayer right out of the box. If you're wondering why my box is all beat up, I have no idea. This is how it showed up at my house. But still, the game case and cartridge are boring as usual, although the new logo is quite nice and clean. So starting up the game, we can see a new title screen and updated voiceover for some reason. Anyways, entering single player, we can see a whole new set of options. Outdoor Island is the same as before, but now we have casual play, which just starts a random minigame immediately, and practice mode, which is a tutorial that explains the basic mechanics of the game. Entering Outdoor Challenge, we can see that there's now new avatar designs for some reason, and they're tied to your Nintendo Switch profile. Inside of each profile is a preview of the character and a few options. Personal data is just high scores, challenge is basically an achievements menu, and change style just lets you change the selected me. After you start up, you can select free play, outdoor adventure, and exercise training, all of which are basically exactly the same as they were before, except now you can play Waterfall Climber solo, which is neat, I guess. Multiplayer is much the same, except with 4 Joy-Con required, which makes it much more of an investment than the original. Overall, the leg strap controls just aren't as good or responsive as the mat. It feels like a downgrade in basically every way. That's pretty much all I have to say. The only major differences in each minigame are just that they were slightly tweaked to make them playable without the mat. The corporations have invaded our exercise video games. So this is the section I've been putting off for this whole video, corporate sponsorships. The Active Life series, at least in the US, has had quite a few of them. Probably the one you're most curious about is the first one I showed you, Nestle Aquapod, which is mentioned in the original game's manual and in that weird little coupon booklet. Aquapod is a defunct water sub-brand from Nestle Waters America, now known as Blue Triton, that was initially released in 2006 in order to offer a, quote, healthy alternative to soft drinks, even though it was just Nestle's existing spring water in a new bottle. The sponsorship involved including references to the drink in the game's manual and the coupon booklet, along with 2 other different companies, those being Robex Smoothies and Kids Foot Locker. Robex was not only in the coupon booklet and the manual, but also had a small billboard in the game that seemingly only appears in the minigame Timber Trail. This is directly across from a Kids Foot Locker ad, which also appears in the booklet. Extreme Challenge also had some sponsors, carrying over the Foot Locker and Aquapod sponsors, but also adding in Arrowhead Water and Zephyrillus Water, both of which are also Nestle Waters America sub-brands. No coupon booklet this time, but there is a banner ad for Aquapod on the back of the manual and in-game appearances of billboards for the other 2. Given the game's more urban setting, the ads look much less out of place here, and you can see them pretty clearly in a few spots, such as in Street Luge, both BMX modes, vertical skateboard, and much smaller in basically every other mode. The sponsors here are pretty unsurprising and boring as heck, although it's interesting to note that the Japanese version does not have any sponsors at all. Explorer has a pretty big one, but it doesn't actually appear in-game at all, this being Chiquita Banana. In 2010, Chiquita ran a massive sweepstakes called the Chiquita Lost City Sweepstakes, which had the grand prize of, quote,
round-trip air transportation for 4 to the Bahamas, 5 days and 4 nights accommodations at the Atlantis, 1 adventure activity, 1-day gourmet dining, a check for $500, 1 Wii console, 1 Active Life Explorer video game, 4 Chiquita sports totes, 4 Chiquita t-shirts, 4 Chiquita sports bottles, and 4 Chiquita banana hangers.
What on earth you would need 4 banana hangers for, I have no idea, but I digress. There were also several smaller prizes, with 5 first prizes, including, quote,
Wii Console, Active Life Explorer video game, Chiquita Sports Tote, Chiquita T-shirt, Chiquita Sports Bottle, and Chiquita Banana Hanger.
And 25 second prizes, which just included a copy of the game. Probably the biggest promotional thing the series ever got. Hey, Editing Reyna here. Did you know that if you threw a banana over your house and submitted a video of it, you'd win free bananas? Google Chiquita Banana Overthrow for more details! Magical Carnival and the Switch release of Outdoor Challenge don't have any sponsorships or tie-ins. I was considering doing a bit where I take the Robux coupon down to my local store, but 1, I have severe social anxiety, and 2, I don't actually want to cut out the coupon because I'd rather keep this whole thing together as a historical item. Also, they're clearly expired, so the store clerk would probably just tell me to leave. Notably, the Japanese versions of the games do not have any sponsor content at all. The manuals are just game info, and the in-game places the ads are in an Outdoor Challenge are empty, and the billboards in Extreme Challenge are just generic products, like pharmacy. I'd say that the series could probably keep going. They could make another Switch entry, be it a port or an original title. But why would they? They're competing with Ring Fit Adventure and Switch Sports and Fitness Boxing and so many other exercise titles in the Switch that it just feels lost in the sauce, I suppose. The first game was pretty successful. It sold over 1 million units, and they are fondly remembered by people, and it stuck with me long enough that I wanted to make a video about it. But maybe this is a series we should sort of move on from. It was an idea birthed of the Wii's crazy peripheral scene and unique hardware, and as the Switch release shows, the idea just doesn't translate particularly well to different hardware. I'm gonna be honest, this whole ending thing is a bit of a ramble, so I'll end this off by saying, I made this video partially because I felt that these games deserve to be saved and preserved on the internet, since nobody has made a proper video reviewing them. Now anyone who's curious can just find out about these games and maybe have a bit of fun learning what they were about. I want to finish this off by thanking every single person who helped me work on this stupidly long and complex video, especially my co-writer and research assistant Ash, proofreader and co-op partner Logan, and every friend who I endlessly rambled to about this project during production. You are all amazing, and I would not have been able to do this without you. Plus, shout out to all the people who were willing to lend their voices to break up the monotony of my gaping mouth. And thanks to all the YouTubers who make good content that inspired me to do this, and whose formats I have shamelessly ripped off. Sorry about that one. But if you like the things I do, I've got more videos in the pipeline. Hopefully they'll take less time than this multi-month project, and be a lot less physically intensive. So yeah, subscribe if you want to see future stuff I make, and consider donating to my Ko-fi if you really liked what I do. Food and old Wii games still aren't free, so make of that what you will. Again, thank you all so much for watching this whole thing all the way through, and I hope you learned something fun. I'll catch you on the flip side, friends.